see if I can share this. I can. Okay. Okay. All right, I'm gonna leave that alone. Hey y'all, I'm live again. I'm having so much fun with this. I hope y'all are doing all right tonight. I know I gotta explain by the title. Yeah, I am about to be like real open and just take it way back with my makeup tonight because um, I have a lot of people that I definitely know who watch a lot of the videos that I do and content that I put out, and they are very much beginners. And so I would be remiss if I'm not welcoming my beginners to the table. So I'm taking it back in this video and I'm going to show you all just kind of what how I used to do my makeup and comparing it to what I do today. And I thought that this was really necessary because I think over time, just like with everything, when we first start off doing something, we learn what works. We learn different techniques. We learn what we also learn what doesn't work. So in this video, I hope y'all join me and just having some fun. Laugh at me if you would, because of course, like this is me being transparent and opening up and showing you guys like, hey, when I first started makeup, I too made a lot of mistakes. And yeah, so I felt that this was like super duper really cool. And I'm hopping on tonight. I have products that I used to use. I'm going to do some of the technique. Well, most of the things that I'm going to be doing in this video, I will show you the techniques that I used to basically do when I first started makeup versus what I do now. So all of the fun stuff wrapped up in what we're gonna do tonight. I promise you guys it's probably gonna be very basic, but you'll basically get the things that are necessary. So what your foundation, your brows, all of that good stuff that you initially start off doing when you first start doing your makeup. So I have all of that in store for y'all tonight. And like I said, laugh with me, have fun with me. I definitely think that um we can have fun with this. So I don't know if it like, yeah, we're just gonna leave it alone. But I definitely shared it with my folks over on Facebook. You guys feel free to share this, invite folks in virtually, and let's just get into it. Let's just have fun. Um, I am going to um, I'll pull up one of my favorite playlists right now. Um, All right, y'all. Y'all ready? Oh, I'm nervous just a little bit. Well, I'm not nervous, but y'all know how it is when you just be like, man, I don't want people to see me make this or do this when I know it's wrong. But like I said, it's about learning from your mistakes. And I've come a long way with how I do my makeup. So, all right, y'all. So I'm going to keep y'all upbeat and as entertained as possible. Um, And I'm sure y'all will be entertained as y'all see some of the dumb stuff I used to do. So, all right. So I've already basically just washed my face for y'all tonight because, of course, I always preach is better to start off with a clean canvas than a dirty one because you're packing all of this product on. You want to also make sure your face is taken care of. My face is moisturized, and also to y'all, just addressing the elephant. I know my face is badly broken out right now, so forgive me for not doing what I'm supposed to. But I promise I've done better this week. Also have my little friend with me tonight. My water bottle, my half a gallon by what is this Hydramate? I think that's the company. It doesn't say it on the bottle. Why doesn't it? Oh, here it goes. Yay! Hydramate. I did order this not too long ago, and I definitely felt it was necessary because I noticed I don't drink as much water as I should. So this is from today. If I learned anything since I've had this, I don't take in as much water as I should, and I know that's really, really bad. So I'm pro drink your H2O because you need to, so we don't be in situations like these. So y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So, of course, like I said, normally when we start off doing our makeup, one of the main things that we always want to get down packed first, because what we notice other people doing is our brows, right? We want to make sure that we get our brows on fleek. So when I first started off doing makeup, I did not necessarily know all the best tools to use, but I knew how to do my brows and I practiced all the time. Like I promise y'all, I remember being in like my residence hall room when I was like a freshman in college, and I would practice and I would just be like doing random stuff until I got it. But one of the biggest things that is so important when you do your brows, especially, is of course, like we know that our hair color does have a natural color, right? So my natural hair color is like a dark brown type of color, and it's very much the same color as my eyebrows. Me didn't know that, and I definitely didn't pay attention. I was just like, yo, my hair is dark and my eyebrows are like dark too. So I'm gonna just use the darkest thing I can. So you guys, when I first started off doing makeup, I used a black eyebrow pencil. And that is how I filled in. That is what I used to fill in my brows. Sis didn't know, so we're gonna forgive her, right? We're gonna rescue Kayla. If you listen to Sarah Jakes Roberts podcast, you know they have this whole Hail Mary, and it's like a whole series of they save people. So we're gonna save Kayla because she didn't know. Okay, so yes, I did. I made one of those mistakes, and I was using the wrong color. Sorry, guys. I learned. And I would have my shape down packed, right? Like I would still outline my natural brow shape. So I would just basically fill in my brow. And sometimes, like of course, I would just do what I thought I needed to do with just, filling in lightly. But another thing that I would do when I filled in my brows, um, I just filled it all the way in. So I would even take it all the way into the lightest part of our brow, right? You know, that it's not as many hairs. I would just fill in over that part too. I would just be like, yeah, girl, we just filling in our brow. We just making sure we have our brows filled in and all that good stuff. So of course, like I said, I will fill them in lightly. But yeah, I don't know about y'all, but sis, it's looking a little bit scary. Mhm. But yeah, that is what I used to do. And I'm judging myself just because I know it's funny and it's all fun and games and look at me. But sometimes when we do first start off something, we don't always know. And so the point that I'm trying to get to is that it is okay that you make mistakes, but with practice, you start to learn, of course, like what things you should do and what things you shouldn't. And that is something that you should definitely be doing. You should be learning and growing and not doing the same things, right? So I'm talking about what I used to do when I started doing makeup, which was about 7 years ago versus today, which I've had all the experience in the world. I've, tried different products now. I've tried different techniques. So of course, like where I started is not where I am. And I know that I'm just going to continue to get better. So of course, like tonight, I definitely want to encourage folks to know like, hey, it may be funny some of the things that we first start off when we do makeup, but over time, like there is a light. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. So now I'm just basically going to clean up my brows and I'm wiping that off because I'm going to be real with y'all. When I also clean up around my brows to make sure that they were nice and defined and cleaned, I will also use the wrong shade of concealer because I usually use concealer to clean up around my brows. I still heavily rock with the LA Girl Pro Concealer, which that is what we are seeing right here, obviously. This is one of my favorite concealers that I use a lot underneath my eye because it is a brightening concealer. It's obviously lighter than my skin tone, but this is what I used to use to clean up around my brows, and I'll show you how I used to do this. So this just comes with like a little brush, which is fabulous because you can just basically squeeze out the product and lay it right onto your skin. And so even though this may seem okay, right? Like you're just, going ahead and cleaning up your brows. You're going to cover this up anyway, so there's nothing wrong with it. The only thing is, I'm sure we've all seen all the memes circulating around on social media, folks just clowning different makeup gurus and stuff. But usually, when we use a concealer that's too light around our brows, it does create a really bright effect. And I can almost pretty much compare it to like a halo around our eyes, which to say the least is not cute. Like it's not appealing at all. Um, and so like of course, like we don't always first start off knowing that that's a thing until somebody says it. Because we just think like I'm the bomb.com. I know how to do my brows. I got this. But in reality, it just looks a hot mess. So I didn't necessarily see like the halo around my brows because I would just, of course, like what I'm doing now, I'm just taking a brush and I'm blending that out. And for me, it looked okay because after I would do my brows, I would just go in with my foundation and I would cover this up. But what I've also noticed when I would do this, um, when I would take pictures sometimes was where I can really see it. Like the concealer would kind of peek underneath my foundation because it's like so it's brighter and it's probably already dried up and then just patting the foundation right above it really doesn't do anything but just kind of show when like I'm in the sunlight or when I take a picture and I'm in like really bright lightning. So like right now this lightning really will show like, hey, I'm there. Um, and I also you'll see that once I do put the foundation on later on, but pretty cute with the shape, but the colors, fam, we're not doing this in 2020, right? We're gonna do better. We're not gonna have black eyebrows. We're gonna do so much better. So now that I've showed you kind of how I used to make myself look like a clown, today, of course, we want to do something more natural. I still, come to think about it, I still use the same eyebrow pencil that I used way back in the day, and that is the Wet and Wild Color Icon eyebrow pencil. And so the color that I use now is this really dark brown shade, which obviously you can tell the label is all wiped off. But the color that I use, I believe it's called Simma Brow now, and it's a pretty chocolate shade, as you can see. But this is more closest to my brow shade. Of course, today, what I usually do, of course, I just outline my brows like so, and then I lightly fill in. Then, when we get to this part, of course, which is closest to the slightest part of our brow, I like to make sure that I'm saving that space so that I can blend it out a little bit later. So I don't even start at the beginning of my brow. I start a little bit back further than that light part of my brow. And I just outline my shape from there. And then I just go in the middle and I fill in. Oh. And then after this, of course, we're just going to clean up. So I'm going to take my brow pencil and just blend it all in. And this basically line that I left right underneath right, but on the bottom of my brow, I'm just going to push that upwards. I'm just brushing that upwards. So it'll give me that fading effect. And I'll just continue to blend out the product. And of course, even with this, you have those hit and misses. Sometimes it still looks a little too dark for me. Sometimes I'm just like dead on. But the better part about it is it's a more natural color. So it's fine. So from here, I just go ahead and I'm going to clean up my brows and I'm going to take the right shade to do that with. And I'm also taking another LA Girl Pro Concealer. This time I'm going to use the shade Chestnut. This color is a lot more closest to my foundation shade, so my skin color. So it definitely looks a lot more natural. And it's a lot more easier to blend out with my foundation shade. So I'm just going to apply this. I could have did it with the brush on the tube, but I tend to squeeze out a lot of this because I don't know, for some reason, I just do that with this one. So I'm just taking a little bit on my brush and I'm going to outline my brow. And sometimes you don't necessarily have to go above your brow because when you do blend it out, sometimes you just don't have to do that step. I often just do because I want my brows to be nice and sculpted and have a nice, pretty, clean shape. So I'm just going to go and clean up that area anyway. And it also gives me the ability to clean up any product that may have gotten a little messy, especially closest to the tail of my brow. And from here, of course, obviously you can tell it's a more natural shade. I can just go in and blend this out. You might ask, like, does the tools also matter for what you use? I believe so. Um, I think the more easier the tools that you have so that you can do all of this, the better you will be able to get the shape that you're going for. So for me, to clean up around my brows, I've always pretty much used a brow pencil, which I know this also has like a comb, which I think it's for your lashes. I haven't still to this day figured out what that end is for. Also, too, I really enjoy a nice flat brush. Mine is obviously used a lot, but a nice flat brush that's kind of got some um, what should I call this? Some flatness to it. But also, I love a good angle brush, especially because I know that my brow is shaped in an angled way. So I'm going to need a little bit of that pressure to just push up that product so that I'm actually going in an angle or slant. So I definitely believe that your products, your tools that you use, helps you go a long way with creating the brow that you need. Um, but yes, so that's our brows. And of course, you can probably definitely tell the difference. And of course, the color. So this is definitely too dark. We want to lean towards more natural shades, right? So the key here to doing your brows is making sure that you have the right shade, the right whatever product that you use, whether it's a pencil, whether it's a brow. I know there's like cream brow products or even like a um what else is out there? Like a brow putty. I know some high-end products have like a putty. So whatever you use, sis, just make sure it's the right shade. And of course, when you go to certain stores, I know like Sephora, they can even test out the products on you. So just kind of ask. And they should be able to give you like a sample. Hey, mother, I have to acknowledge you. My mom is on, you guys. Gotta say hey to my madre. But yeah, so like I know stores like Sephora definitely even, will help you find the right shade to use for your brows. So just, work with them, tell them what you need, they'll work with you and go from there. Moving on to, because we have our brows, right? I'll just move on from here to the face. So when I started wearing makeup, my skincare and how I took care of my skin was definitely still important. But I've always struggled with acne since I was a preteen. But we're getting better. We're getting better. Um, so I definitely would try to use a base underneath my face product just because I do have oily skin. And where I used to live, it was very, very hot. And just even in general, like the summer is hot, right? So I always needed something to help combat the excess oil. But for me, a primer was necessary. Um, Highly, highly necessary for me. So I would just stick with whatever primer I was using at the time and go from there. Currently, I have the e.l.f. Matte Putty Primer here with me, and this is what I'm going to use today for the sake of this video. And this is more like a cream based primer in like a little jar. I've always had primers come like in a little tube, but this is like a cream base and it's pretty cool. And like I said, it's a putty. So the consistency is you can see cream like. So and don't be alarmed, it is like a white pale color, but it will blend into your skin. Um, and it is matte. So I'm just gonna go ahead and apply it to this side because obviously I'm saying I used to use primers heavily. And so this shouldn't take me very long. And I will just rub the primer all over my face, um, whether I wore eyeshadow or not. When I first started wearing makeup, I was heavy on just foundation and doing my brows and mascara. So primer was a necessary thing for me. Thank you, thank you. You love my brows. Do you love the situation we got going on here? So basically, for those of you coming on in this, I will be showing you all how I used to do my makeup versus what I do now. So on this side, on your, yes, your left, still my left, will be basically all the things that I used to do. So you can tell I used to basically fill in my brows using a black eyebrow pencil, which we can obviously tell is not a natural color for me versus what I do now. And so I definitely have done better with my brows. And it's all about learning, right? Like I said before, you live and you learn. So, yeah. So moving on. Now today, I do still use a primer. Don't get me wrong, because obviously I still have oily skin. That doesn't go away, right? But I learned how to combat it because, of course, I still love and enjoy wearing my makeup. But today, I do use a primer every so often. Like I obviously showed you, I do keep a primer in my stash. And this isn't even the only primer that I do have. So it is still a thing that I'm rocking heavy with. But here lately, I have been using a translucent powder as more so of a base to help control the oil a little bit more because it is kind of like the substance is a little bit more, how would I say this? Of course, it's a powder, but it's just a different kind of texture to grab onto those oils, of course, because it's not like a cream, right? Like a cream, it can just glide off, whereas with a powder, it's gonna stick. So the translucent powder that I've been using that I have in my stash is a high-end product. So it's a little bit more pricey, but I will tell you this much, even though I love this product and it is pretty popular, I probably won't repurchase this just because this was one of those, I just want to try it and see, and I really do like it. But I know that this color, I definitely have just felt some type of way about it, but it's still a really, really great product. But I mentioned that because I know some of you may want to go and try this, but there are so many other drugstore products, of course, that are more affordable. So I know one that I highly, highly stuck really close by was the CoverGirl translucent powder. The color, of course, will vary based on what your needs are, but just for those of you that you are interested in trying that technique, I highly recommend sticking close to the drugstore found the drugstore translucent powders first, just to kind of see what you like and what you don't like. But today, like I said, I do use a powder, so I'm just gonna go ahead and apply this on my what I do now side of my face, which is my right side. And it doesn't have to be a lot. I just apply enough. But of course, just like with my primer, I still take it all over my face, because of course I I can't always gauge when I'm going to get oily. So it's better safe to just do it this way for me, because I can just basically get oily on certain spots. But if I'm out a lot, you know, for whatever reason, I can't always, bank that my foundation is just gonna be great. I have to still make sure that other parts of my face are covered, which I know it's really weird. I get really oily down my nose, like above my little cheekbones here, and then maybe my forehead, the middle of my forehead. Those are my like hot spots. But for the most part, my nose is where it's at. So we got to get in those places. Sometimes I may apply a primer before I apply the powder, but a lot I've also just been using the powder on its own and then applying my foundation on top. So moving on, that was a lot. Back in the day, as far as how I used to apply foundation, like I told you all, the most important thing for me when I first started doing makeup was making sure I knew my brows were done, my foundation was covered, and mascara. And those were the three main things that I would use in terms of makeup, because I was very beginner. So I would go back and forth with my face products. Sometimes I would use a liquid foundation. I know there's various different foundations. You have your creams, you have mousses. I would use a liquid foundation because to me at the time it made more sense to use a liquid. But I will vary because I will also just use a powder on its own. I didn't necessarily think that you can use both, like a foundation and a powder together. Like, I would just be like, well, why would I use both? That's too much makeup. So I would just use them separately. I would just go back and forth based on what I was grooving with for the day. So I am going to show you all how I use both for the sake of this video, because it would just be a bit much to use them separately. But I do have the foundation that I used to use, which is still a great product, by the way. It is the Maybelline Fit Me, and this is their matte and poreless line. This is what it looks like if you are interested in the packaging. And the shade that I was always in was 360 Mocha, and for some reason I remained that same shade, which is really weird because I would at least thought I would have gotten a little bit darker. But I was in 360 Mocha, and usually their labels are at the top, on the top. But this particular one is for normal to oily skin. So I really like that companies do put on their products who that product could be used for. So they also have a dewy part of this line, of the Fit Me line, but those would be more so for normal to dry skin folk. We gotta have both, right? Everybody's getting love. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm going to apply my lovely foundation here, and then I'm gonna set that with my powder. Um, this definitely is the foundation that I was using. I do not have the powder that I used to use, which was basically the same powder. I would use the Fit Me liquid foundation, but then I would top it off with the Fit Me powder. But I just don't have any in my stash right now. So what I will use is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Powder, which this is in the color Cocoa. And by the way, this is a bomb.com full coverage powder. So if you are one that you aren't with the liquid foundation type of vibes, definitely try a powder. You can definitely still get a lot of coverage out of some of these things. It just depends on what you enjoy and what you like. You can use a translucent, which isn't as much coverage and it won't feel like it's so heavy on your face, or you can use something that's more full coverage. To each his own. What's also fun is that I'm also going to use a tool that I used to use. So this is an e.l.f. brush, and this is their powder brush. which, as you can see, has a flat top. And I was just so in love with the flat top shape because I would just like, oh my God, I can apply my foundation so much easier. So, what I'm going to do, I've already shaken up my foundation. I'm just going to go ahead and apply it right on my brush. And I'm going to take it and I am just going to apply it all over my face. Yeah, this is about right. Yeah, this still looks like my color. What y'all think? One thing that I can point out about this primer, which you may already see it, the coverage is really pretty. It's very nice, and that is one thing I've always really liked about this. Obviously, because you can tell that I have some blemishes going, so the coverage I've always been in love with. I would say that this foundation has a medium to full coverage because it definitely can be buildable. Um, some days I may get it where it looks very full coverage, where basically, it looks like all of my blemishes and all of that jazz is covered. Some days I'm just like, I need to use enough product. But the great thing with this is that this product isn't so heavy. So that is why I definitely say that it is buildable because if you do need to add more, sis, add more. Live your best life and use what you need. That's what I say. So here we are. Here's our foundation. It's really, really pretty, and I still highly recommend this product. And it's really, really like it is a bomb price. I think it is still the same thing that I used to pay. It's like $5 and some change, which isn't bad for a foundation. Come on. Like foundations I've gone up to like $10 now, but Maybelline, they always got it in the bag with a reasonable price product that's quality like. So, this is a really popular product too. That I know launched years ago, but it is still very popular to this day and it still really works well. So I highly put my stamp on this. If you are someone who you're very, very, very new to wearing makeup and you're looking for something that can actually work. So moving on, like I said, I'm going to set this with a powder. And for those, I'm going to explain why I really thought that using these products separately would do the job because I thought they serve the same purpose. But here today, I do use both liquid products and powders because what the powders do for liquid is just set it in place to help your makeup application last a lot longer throughout the day. And essentially, it's just an extra layer to set it. It's not to have so much more makeup on us to think like, oh, I need to cover this up, but it's just a way to set your powder or your face product in place. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to use a fluffy powder brush. What I also like about using a powder over top my foundation is that it gives me a matte look. Because I am an oily girl, I like to make sure that my foundation isn't all shiny and oily like 2 minutes after I've applied it. So I like that the powder just goes over top and catches all of those little wet spots and gets me right so that I'm looking nice and dry and natural throughout the day. So here we are with the products that I used to use and the way I used to use it. So these are not bad products, but this is just what I used to do. Today, I definitely do a little like as you can see, it's very basic. I don't have a contour, I don't have blush, I don't have anything. I just had my brows done. I would go ahead and apply some foundation, powder, and lip gloss, and your girl was good today. It's not that I'm just like all over the place, but I definitely I've added more to my routine just because I found more things that I've enjoyed that can really help just kind of accentuate my face structures. So those cheekbones, adding like a pout of blush to my face because it does of course, add a little bit of color to my cheek to bring some flair to that area. Um, and I do other things. So obviously, I've showed you what I used to do. Now let's move on to what I do now. So I've already put on my translucent powder. Today, the foundation is still using Maybelline, but this is their Super Stay Full Coverage Foundation, and the shade that I'm in is 362 Truffle. And what I love about foundations today is that they come with pumps. So for me, I love that because it definitely gives me a lot more control when I am pouring the product out. I can get as much as I need instead of pouring out too much. So I'm just going to take about 2 pumps of this. And what we didn't have when I started wearing makeup was beauty blenders. I love a good beauty blender today. So that is what I'm going to be using to apply this foundation. And I love using the bottom part or the more thicker part of my beauty blender to apply my foundation because, of course, it's more better to help spread the product all over my face. So one thing to make note of for those of you, if you don't have never seen one of these products before, sis, it's okay. Nobody's judging you here. But before you, well, to actually help activate a beauty blender, I'm going to show you how it's done. So usually when you first like pull a beauty blender out of the packaging, which of course I'm using one that's dirty, but I'm just showing you the point. It'll come out, it'll be dry basically, and the shape of it will be very small. But what you have to do to activate it, because you should never use a beauty blender when it's dry and when it's very, very small. As you can tell, there's a big difference between the one that I'm using here and this one. This one obviously is in its natural form, but it's dry, so it hasn't been activated to use. What you have to do is you have to basically soak up water into it and just squeeze all the water out, and that'll help puff up your beauty blender. And so it'll become a lot bigger, but make sure that you squeeze all the water out. And so that actually helps give you a more smoother application for any of the products that you're going to apply. So whether you use a liquid foundation, you can even use a beauty blender to apply powders. You can do a lot with a beauty blender, but just make sure that you activate it because I made mistakes before too. Like I've tried to use it when it's like dry, fresh out the packaging, and just be like, why? I used to be like, why it's not working for me? So I love a good beauty blender. I've definitely heard a lot of reasons why people, usually want to use brushes or why some people just use a beauty blender. And I get it. A lot of people have noticed that when using a brush, you get a lot more of your product out of using a brush. Whereas with the beauty blender sponge, it kind of soaks up the product so you don't get as much of it onto your face, which you don't want to happen because you want to have the coverage that you want. And if your blender here, can't talk, is soaking all your product up, that's not great. But what I've seen is the very opposite. Usually I get a great application of all my foundations that I use with the beauty blender. I never have trouble with the coverage. And as you can see, obviously, like this is a full coverage foundation and it gave me the coverage that I need. So to each his own, like if you find that you like using brushes, then do that. If you find that using a beauty blender is better, do what you feel like is working for you. That is what I say. Yeah, so I'm loving this application and we are seeing some things. So, of course, I don't stop here today. I like to do some highlighting, I like to do some contouring. So, here today, when I'm usually going for a full face, even when I'm doing something very natural, I will also still use an under eye concealer. You would never probably see me just using a foundation on its own. Sis, I'm probably not going to do that. I'm a spruce it up a little bit. So I enjoy a good under eye concealer. And the point of doing that part, some people may be like, why do you need to put that underneath your eye? Well, there are natural points on our face that light will naturally hit. So you may see light naturally hitting the tip of your nose or even your forehead, as you can see, or even the top of your cheeks. So because that is a thing, obviously in the beauty industry, we felt the need to make that a thing that we do of that we have a highlighted technique. So that is the point of under eye concealer. It can also be useful, especially for those of us that suffer from baggy eyes. I'm looking for the right term here, but if we do have those baggy eyes, concealer can also help cover those and make it look a lot more seamless underneath there. So when we do apply foundation, we're also making sure that that gets covered too. Or if we have those fine lines, it can help with that. So my favorite concealer nowadays is this baby here. It's the e.l.f. Camo Concealer. This is their 16-hour cream liquid concealer, and it comes like this. I'm in the shade Deep Cinnamon, and usually the way to gauge what's your concealer shade, let it be at least 2 shades lighter than your foundation shade. So that's how you would know like what right concealer shade you should get. So the way I'm going to apply it, just going to take it right off the applicator and apply it right underneath my eye. And I'm going to apply as much as I need. Sometimes we may do it in an upside down triangle. I used to do that because I would just be like, this is gonna, I just would watch all the beauty folks on YouTube. But I just apply as much as I need now. I don't even care. But I'm just gonna take the pointed end of my beauty blender because it can fit right comfortably in the crease of my eye. And I'm just gonna blend this out. So as you can see, it's a highlighted effect, but it's blended in nicely with my foundation. And of course, back in my day, I used to start off using something that was a little too bright, which I'll actually show you. Even though I said I would stop right here, sis, I'm just going to show you what I used to do. So, and I actually have the concealer color here with me, so I can do it. So, when I first started just doing the under eye concealer thing, I, of course, was just like, well, I know I need to use a lighter shade. So, I would still use, that's how I fell in love with the LA Girl Pro Concealer. And I was first using toffee, which was a little bit lighter than this. So we was going all the way. But this is Fawn. This has a yellow base undertone. This is still too bright for me. This is several shades lighter than me. So I'm just going to show you the difference in using something that's a little bit more natural versus using a brightener that's a little bit unnatural. So that's definitely too bright. Um, and here I'm going to just take here, I'll take a brush because I use brushes on this side, and I'm just gonna blend this out. And you would definitely be able to tell that this is too bright for you because learn like I did, you will be able to see this seeping through your foundation. Like it would just be like a big glob of lightness right here, and then your foundation, which is you don't want that. So, and for some, you may be like, what's the difference? It looks the same, but I've taken photos like out in natural sunlight. Sorry, y'all. I have a highway right next to my apartment. But anywho, yeah, like I've taken photos when I used to use a shade, and I could definitely see my foundation and my concealer separated, and I would just be like, like, why did I do that? So take it from me. I learned, sis. I have. Um, you don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead. Like I said, when you do a liquid, you always balance it out with a powder. So it's about checks and balances. So once you apply a liquid, you need a dry. So I'm going to set my under eye concealer using a translucent. That is what I would always recommend. I love this shade, but in the future, I definitely want to try a shade that's a little bit more brown because it will be a lot more natural. Even though this translucent will blend right in, it's just not as natural as I would always like, but I just make it work. So I'm just taking a fluffy brush and I'm going to go right on top of that and just set that. And for the sake of it, I would just also do the same to the other side. But obviously, when I use a translucent over top this color, you can tell it's really, really bright. All right. So in addition to concealer, I also today do a lot of contouring because I like to define those cheekbones. I mean, they're already nice and pretty and beautiful. I got some chunky, chubby cheeks, but I do like to have just a defined um, contour or bronzer, which we'll get to that later. But I like to, this was something that I learned in a stage makeup class that I took when I was a senior in college. And I learned kind of like what people who are like in theater, just kind of what they do in terms of like, where the highlighted points when you're on stage so people can see, or versus like, you know, the defined places. So all of that. But I'm just gonna go ahead and use what I used today to contour my face. This is the Black Radiance Concealer Stick. Um, and this is one of their darker shades. This is an 8003. Unfortunately, they don't come with names, but just codes. So mine is an 8003. All right. So because some of my folks may be asking, how will I even know where I should start? So an easy tip that I learned in my stage makeup class was that if you kind of do like a kissy face, like a, I guess that's fish, a fishy face, just make that face, and you'll be able to see like the line, like your cheekbone lines, and that's where you'll know you can kind of apply the over it. So for me, if I just, mm, there we go. Especially because you want to apply it in the right place. You don't want yours to be too high or too low. So that's a good kind of tip to use to gauge it. So with this, I'm just going to take, and this is more so of a cream, and it blends out really good. What I like to use and what I recommend using is a definer brush, like a very stiff brush that has like a shape that's either oval like this or something that's even slanted like this. This is one of my favorite shape brushes to blend out contour. I really help you because it's shaped in such a way where you can be like, yeah, I'm going in an angle. So you can keep that shape. So I'm just going to blend this out. And the good thing about this particular product, it blends in pretty easily. So I don't have too much trouble with it, or really any trouble. There we go. We got a little bit. So if I turn to the side, you can, oh, there's a defined cheekbone there. You see that? It's real cute. Y'all like, yeah, okay, cool. I know y'all like it. But that's my contour. And I can apply a little bit more if I feel like it, but usually I just do one swipe and I'm good to go. Because I'm gonna set my face and then I'm gonna bronze. I'm gonna do a little bit of bronzing. So after this point, I've already set my face on this side. I did my powders, but I'm gonna go on this side and show you how I set my face today using a powder. So I know y'all be thinking like, what the heck is that? But yes, this used to be a container that held one of my hair products, but I'll tell you why. So the translucent that I'm using today is this Makeup Revolution. This is a baking powder. So this is probably what you would use to bake underneath your eyes, like your to set your under eye concealer. But this shade is pretty close to, well, it is my foundation shade, my skin tone. So just like you can, in with makeup, you can do whatever, girl, it's your face. So I'm using this as an all over face powder. Hello, my lovely Rachel. So I'm just gonna go ahead and apply this. But as you can see, sis, you see how they set me up for failure. So I'm gonna show you. Okay, so the top is really tiny. So if I'm gonna take my brush, let me just show you because y'all think I'm lying. How am I gonna dip that in here? Like that brush is not going in. It's not going. So you have to compromise. So I'm just gonna take my little fluffy brush, and this is what I actually use today to apply my powder. You want to definitely tap off the excess with the translucent powders because they can get messy because they are loose powders. So make sure that you take that in mind. So I'm just going to apply this all over my face. All right. So we're nice and set. Now from here, I'm gonna go in, like I told you, do some bronzing. So my all-time favorite bronzer to this day, and I don't need to look anywhere. And you guys, this is contouring and bronzing is actually a new thing for me. Like I kind of was like I had to work up to doing everything, right? Like I started off very basic. Then I moved on to blush and I was like, okay. And then after that I added some highlight and then the bronze. I couldn't do it all. See, I couldn't do it all at once because I was just like, for some things, I would just be like, I don't want to do that. It's too much. That's too much makeup. But here today, I'm here to tell you the story that your girl is on board with all of it. It just took me some time because when you first start off doing makeup, of course, you're kind of self conscious about what you wear. You don't want to put too much. You don't want to wear something that looks not natural or looks stupid. You don't want to look like a cornball. I get it, sis. I do. So I can share that with you. But this bronzer, y'all, let me tell you, Rihanna, okay, she knew what she was doing when she made this line um, for our great um, brown girls. Do you see this bronzer? Like I can tell you the bronzers that I normally see in the drugstore, they are never this dark. I'm gonna tell you. So the bronzers that I normally see in the drugstore are probably my foundation shade. Sis, it's not dark enough. So I highly, highly recommend trying out this is the Sunstalker Instant Warm Bronzers by Fenty Beauty. So they come in this lovely packaging. The one with a shade that I'm in is in Mocha Mommy. And it is a very nice chocolatey brown, as you can see. And it has like a reddish undertone a little bit, but I love it. So with this, I'm taking my fluffy angle brush and I'm going to go right on top of where I applied that. And over time, you know, kind of like the shape of where to put your contour bronzer. So you just go based on that. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm showing off just a little bit. But I'm just going to apply this right on top. And bronzing for me, I learned is just another step to set that cream contour, just like my powder, my all over powder would set my foundation. This will help set that cream contour in place. Now, I did start off when I was doing contouring just using my bronzer, so just using this product, and I wasn't using my concealer stick. So honestly, I would say you can do either or. You don't have to use both because as you saw, even after I set my face with my powder, you could still see like the color see through. So that was something that I did, and I just share that with you because I know for some people you may feel like it's unnecessary. So I highly recommend these bronzers because if you're gonna just stick with the powder, definitely just I would recommend this. But to each his own, and you will find, I'm sure, what works for you. Uh, but yeah, ladies, we have us a divine cheek. So you told me, should I have just stuck with the natural, or did we did we find something? Did we come up on something? Like I like it. You know, we have our days where we don't want to wear the blush and the contour. We just want to do the basic, but some days when we, want to jazz it up, since you can wear that contour, you can wear that blush, you can highlight that face, okay? Now I am moving on to the remainder of my face, and that is I am going to apply a blush for you all and also highlights. So that is what I'm going to do here. For blush, my recommendation for blush, of course, we know we have our nice coral, pinks, and all of that good stuff out there. But also, too, the problem that I was running into when I would go looking for a blush product was that I wouldn't find the colors that I needed. So I would either find some pinks that were too light, or I just wouldn't find anything at all, really. But Black Radiance, I tried their baked blushes, and that is what this is. This is a really nice wine color. And as you can tell, it is really, really pretty. Like this is color girl friendly, y'all. I'm telling y'all. And this is in, like I said, this is one of their artisan color baked blushes, and the color is Brick House. Um, so I'm gonna take a little bit of this product on a little dense fluffy brush and I'm going to apply my blush. Now there's also a technique that I do to apply this. Normally, of course, we all see folks want to just smile and apply the blush to the apples of our cheeks. But I learned a technique that if we actually do that, which I'll show you, So say I'm just gonna go and apply it to the apples of my cheeks, right? So slapping it on there, huh? And I wouldn't apply that much, but I'm just showing you for the sake of the technique. So I did that, but when I stop smiling, the blush is going to be down here. So even though you intended well, the blush is too low. And when you smile, your blush you should want to see it, right? You want it to stay where it should be, right? But here, and I used to do that, y'all. So I'm not saying like I never did it. I did. But what I do, I'm going to take a little bit more on my brush. I take the blush and I will apply it close to my hairline, a little bit above my bronzer. So if you can gauge it, so right before I hit my liner line and my hairline. So I would take it near closest to my hairline and I would just apply it right there, but I will blend it inward. And I, of course, do this with my head so I can like get some assistance with the blending. But obviously, my blush is there, and that's too much blush, y'all. I wouldn't use that much, but just for the sake, I want to show you the technique. My blush is not going anywhere. You can tell that I have on blush, um, and I definitely know it's going to accentuate my face a lot more because it does. I think that this area is a lot more. Um, you can see it a lot better and you know that it looks a lot more neater than just applying to the apples. I think the apples it's a well-intended technique, but I do get where the person I learned this from was saying when you apply it, it's probably too low and you want your blush to be in a more defined place. If that makes sense. So guys, it's just about living and learning, right? Um, and when we do apply too much blush, what I do like to do is just take my powder brush, like whatever brush I use to apply my face powder, and I would just go over it. And this would just kind of help take down some of that color so it's not too much. Like, say you did all your makeup and you finished and you put too much blush and you're just like, my makeup's ruined. No, sis, just fix it. Just put some powder over it and you will be good. And it'll just tone it down. It won't take away from your look. It will just bring some of that foundation color back. So you have more of a natural looking blush. So there we go. I would say that I'm done, but I'm not. Not. I also like a nice highlight. This is optional. Blush is optional. All of the bronzer, blush, and the highlight are definitely optional techniques. But I definitely think if you are going for a more full face glam look, these can be some things that will really help spruce up your makeup look. So I've done my bronzer, I've done my blush. Now right above that blush, I'm just gonna pop a little bit of highlight. And highlight is also one of those things that it can get away from us. You don't want to look like you walking right out of, I don't know, like what's something I can compare it to if you haven't too much highlight? You just don't want to look too highlighted because it just won't look good. So less is better. That's what I definitely say when it comes to highlight. A little bit goes a long way. You don't need to like go ham with your brush and just be like, I need no, just a little bit. Just take your brush and just dab it a little bit over that and just blend it out a little. Just a little goes a long way. And if you see you put too little, add a little bit more, just a little, and blend it out. But also too, if you add too much highlight, what we do, just go back over with our powder and get it together, sis. Remember, it won't take away, it will just tone it down and get you where you need to be. So, what y'all thinking? Do y'all like? Is it too much? It's pretty basic still to me. And it's one of those things that I definitely have learned to um, think of as natural because even if I'm going for a natural look, I still sometimes want to have my cheekbones defined or I want to have a nice natural highlight. So when I turn my head, it's a pretty little sparkle coming. It's really pretty. So it's all about what is basic makeup to you. Um, and that is where I will go from there. If you are just sticking with foundation, brows, mascara, you are good. Then sis, that's still pretty. But even still, if you want to do something a little bit extra, it's still pretty. So, you guys, I've basically done pretty much all of what I used to do in terms of my face. I'm still a mascara girl. And I say that because when I first started off wearing makeup, of course, I used to like my brows looking nice. And the good Lord has blessed me with some nice long lashes. So, mascara was the thing for me. Um, where I was, I would see a lot of girls I went to school with wearing lashes, and I would just be like, okay, that's for me. It was a bit much because I just felt like the lashes would look too natural, and that was that phase. I was just like, I'm a little conscious about wearing those. So mascara felt safe, and I still feel the same way, but um, I have opened up a little bit more, and I have tried false lashes, you guys. And I will actually show you all a product that's really been helping me as a beginner feel more comfortable wearing them. And the easiest thing I can say is wearing some that are more closest to your natural, that look very natural, because that will help you feel like, oh, okay, like these aren't that bad. I can actually feel comfortable in these. And then, if you want to go bigger, better, girl, if you like it, I love it. Um, but what I have been trying here lately are the Ardell Naked Lashes, and they come in like this. It's like a peachy, um, like a blush pink. What you call this? This kind of packaging. And you guys, these lashes, I know Ardell lashes can be a bit pricey, but I think these are new. And these are very reasonably like priced. Like usually I can get these under $5, which normally their lashes are above $5, but these ones in particular are bomb. And it maybe because they are very, like, they are what they say, they're naked lashes. They're very natural. So these are definitely lashes I will also highly recommend if you are a beginner. Like, say you like mascara, but sometimes you want a little bit more, but you don't want too much because remember you're still learning. Definitely try these, sis. I usually can find these at CVS, or really any place that may sell lashes. Um, Walgreens, CVS is where I usually find these. Like I said, they are very, very affordable. So you have my recommendation on these. If I can say any mascara product recommendations, I just say use whatever you find to get you the most length. Because sis, I'm still on the search for finding my favorite mascara, which is crazy. But what I have really enjoyed, and I'm just holding up mascaras that I'm currently using. What I have been using here lately to really help me love wearing mascara is using a primer, like a mascara primer. And I think this is a really good product because sometimes we know that we can apply mascara and it can get real messy. Like you think you just applying to your lashes, but it's also getting off on your eyelid, and you're just like, sis. So I think using a primer is really helpful to allow you to have a more cleaner application. The primer usually helps the product stick a little bit better, so you can just apply it and not have to worry about it getting all over and messing up your eyes and stuff. It'll stick. And it also really does help with boosting up the length of your lashes. So I really, really like, all along we just been figuring out like what's the best primer, what's the best mascara. It's been primer, y'all. I'm telling you, like, don't believe the hype. They didn't want to tell us, but it's primer. Okay, I figured it out. Get you some mascara primer. I've used the kind by L'Oreal, and it usually comes with like a little white tube with a gold top. Don't know what it's called. Sorry. But what I'm currently using is by the company Essence. And it looks like so. This is their volume booster lash primer, and it says that it's immense with super fruits. Sorry, y'all. So it looks like that. In Essence, usually sold in Ulta, but we're gonna not promote going out to places we don't. It's not an essential item right now, but just keep it on your list for right now until we get to a better place in the world. But that is definitely something that I highly recommend. Lips. I almost forgot about the lips, you guys. How could I do that? Of course, back in the day, something very natural, which I'll show you because I still have the products that I used to use. Um, I used to just use this is actually another Wet n Wild product. This is their Color Icon pencil, and this I can't even tell you the oh, I might be able. This is in chestnut, so looks like this is a really nice natural brown. And I just basically would take this. Let me sharpen it up so I can show you. I just take this and I would just apply this to all over my lips, just basically filling my entire lip using this pencil. Of course, I need to make sure my lips are a little bit more moisturized. Of course, when you are going to apply any lip product, make sure your lips are moisturized. Makes for easier, smoother application. So I would just fill it in. I don't have any particular order. I would just fill it in to the best I can. This is very, very natural. You can barely see it, but it added a little bit of color to my lips, and that to me was enough. But here today, y'all know I'm about the reds and the browns. If you haven't seen my videos here lately on my reds and my brown sis, where you been? Check them out. Like they'll get you all the way together. I'm just wiping this off um, because if I can show you something that I'm loving here today, it is a nice red, right? We got to do something. I'm enjoying a lot here lately liquid matte lipsticks. That's the thing today. I think a lot of companies started coming out with liquid lipsticks back in like 2015. And when they did, oh sis, I went crazy. Like the Color Pop ones, come on. I was like, I fell in love. But I've, of course, everybody comes out with something. So I've tried a lot of other different ones. I've tried the NYX ones. And here I actually have the Milani. I have a few of these. This one I have is the Milani a more matte lip cream. And this is in Devotion. Devotion. So I'm just going to, it comes in like a little tube. And depending on the formula, your liquid lipstick may dry either really fast or it may take it some time, but it will dry. It just depends. So I usually try to outline our lips first so I can have a cleaner application. Okay. So the point of this is when I first started off wearing makeup, and this is common. I was very conscious about wearing like color on my lips. I would be like, that's too much. Like, I look too grown. Like, stop. So, of course, I wasn't into wearing like the reds, really no color, just natural shades. I love a good red lip nowadays. Of course, it does make your teeth look really, really white. But it's a nice classic color to wear on your lips. You can wear this professionally, you can wear this like casually. It's just a really nice color that looks really pretty on all shades. Um, but I think when I would start off, I would kind of play around with like really pinks, which we know we got to be careful about the pinks because we don't want we brown girls. We don't want to we don't want to walk out looking like clowns. But I would use, of course, like a natural lip pencil with a pink and then go from there and make it look really natural. Um, but I love a good liquid lipstick, like I said. And this is already dry matte, so you can basically see the effect it gives. So, you guys, that is how I've basically grown over the years with makeup. So, y'all tell me what you think. Are we still filling in our brows with black eyebrow pencils? Says no, we're not doing that unless that's our natural shade. Sure, but we're not gonna do that, right? We're gonna do something more natural. Yes, just looks a lot more like presentable. So over time we learn. Blush, we can apply it this way, but just knowing that it only really show right when we smile. Like yes, and then it's down here. So we just want to make sure like our placement is right. The foundations, once again, I showed you all the Maybelline Fit Me foundation. The one that I have here is a matte and poreless. So this is more so for our oily folk. So highly recommend this. It's a very cost reasonable product. It's usually like around $5, which is never bad for a foundation. Like trust, if you are new to makeup, foundation can be expensive. So if you find one that cheap, sis, you might have come on you might have come up on something. Um Then for today, what I use is another Maybelline product, but this is more full coverage, and it has a pump. You gotta love a good pump on your foundation. And this is the Maybelline uh, full coverage foundation. This is their Super Stay Full Coverage Foundation. I said that all the way wrong. Sorry, but that is what I'm using. Also, too, when I do finish off my makeup, I do enjoy just going right back over with one more touch, and I'll set my entire makeup using a setting spray here. Lately, I've been using the Morphe Continue Modifying Continuous Mist, and it is a setting mist, like a setting spray. Hmm. And this, what I do like about it, it actually does spray pretty matte. So it's not as wet, so I don't look like I just threw water on my face, like some setting sprays can be. But this is just basically going to allow everything to set in place. This is also too not something you have to do. It's just something I've enjoyed doing. Is this just helps top off everything after I've applied my powders and stuff. This is just going to give me a little bit more mattifying power also too because this is a mattifying mist. So my goal for my makeup is to go for something that is going to be mattifying so it can last all day and not 2 minutes. So that's the goal. But I really that's what I said. I appreciate y'all for just coming on, having some fun with me, sharing in this love and just yeah, being around. Just your presence alone has mattered to me. I appreciate you all. I hope this was fun, entertaining, and actually informative too. I hope that I was able to give some good tips here. But thank you all once again. If you are new here and you've never been to the Naturally Kayla channel, well, welcome in. We love to have you here on my channel. I do content around faith, beauty, and life. So if those are interesting things to you, then sis, I hope that you can stick around with us. We're family here, so we would love to keep you entertained and keep you around. Thank you all so much. Wherever you're watching, depending on the time, thank you so much for taking out the time during your night when you could have been watching Tiger King or something, but you decided to be here with Kayla. I love it. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. I love you all. And as always, Lord willing, I will see you next time. See you, fan.